capable in speaking in the shows
And
that I watched in the early
shows today.
2000s. Yeah.
hmm
That's going to be fun. Okay, you guys. As long as I like to
What
say
does
with these things.
that?
Woo. As I like to say with these things, as long as everything is working the way that it should be working, we are now live. So hello and welcome to everyone who is watching the Written Melanin channel. And I definitely just got purchased hair in my mouth. Okay. Whew. Welcome to the Written Melanin channel. I don't even. Hi, you guys. Welcome. I don't even know what the intro is.
Y'all, Chelsea literally went to bed at 7:45 this morning and then
Yep.
woke up after what, an hour, you said?
Yeah, so I went to bed at like 7, and then I
So,
woke up at like, not even 7, no, 8. It's closer to 8. 7:45.
yeah.
Went to bed at like 7:45, and then I woke up at like 9 o'clock so that I could get
Yeah,
ready.
y'all.
So, but
I told her to cancel this, but she's insistent. So,
because consistency on the channel, this is the only stream they're getting this week, Audra.
okay.
And they've been waiting for 2 weeks. You can't just bail on people at the last minute like that.
Yes, you can when you haven't had any sleep. Hey, La, happy Tuesday.
Hello, welcome y'all. So DL is here, Ben is here, La is here. Welcome. Clearly I'm a glutton for punishment. Clearly I do not appreciate joy in my life because the way that I love to sleep, y'all, and I have not been, I don't know who I am right now. But that's okay. Because at the end of the day, the book is going to be done on time and we're going to have a good time today. And that's what matters. Right? So,
stiff and twisted.
I do need sleep. So if I sound like I'm tired, it's because I in fact am. So, but this book is going to be really good, you guys. I was sending the screenshots to Ben. And he was like, I don't know how you did this. And you're like half awake with one good eye. But, you know, this is good. He improved.
Saying, Chelsea, you gotta sleep, girl. You gonna miss your whole vacation because you're gonna be in the room sleep while your friends is having fun.
That's fine. I am a responsible friend, actually. So it's fine if I'm knocked out and they just come get me when something happens. I'm fine with that.
See?
Also, hello, Ash. Good day.
Ash! What's up, baby?
Okay. Sorry, y'all. I am trying to figure out what's happening with the chat and why it's not showing up. But you know what? That is not a problem for today's Chelsea. It's just not.
Listen, it's okay.
It is. But yes, how are y'all doing today? How are y'all doing this lovely Tuesday? What have you accomplished in the last 2 weeks since we last got together to chat over the melanin?
Well, I posted an episode today.
Ooh.
With Bianca Sloan. She's a Black indie suspense author. Her book "And When I Die" was very, very good. We chitted and chatted it up, and of course laughed. And what else did I get done? Oh, I don't have to use it today because my hubby is back to working 2 days a week in office. So, but
look at you with your own air sign. Although, if it's inside the closet, don't know how it's finna work.
No, I just wanted to show it to y'all because I don't have to use it today since hubby's in the office. He's like literally at NASA. So, but see,
gotcha.
It's the remote control.
Look at that! Look at you being fancy.
Yup.
Fancy.
And it even has a plug, so you can plug it into a USB plug.
Okay.
And you know what else I did? What else I did?
What else you did?
You know what else I did?
What else you did?
I bought a magazine that's featuring somebody.
Look at that.
Intellectual Ink. That's her. Y'all probably saw her post about this on Twitter, but I had to go ahead and support. But it was also, it's also interesting on a side note because this woman on the cover is the first Black woman mayor of Hagerstown, Maryland. And what's interesting is I get housing listings in my email box because my husband and I are at some point going to move. And so I always noticed all these houses in Hagerstown, like beautifully remodeled, and they're in like the 260, 220, 189 range, which for Maryland is ridiculously cheap.
Okay.
And beautiful houses. And I'm just like, what is going on that all these houses have just bam, 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 like literally every week, 2 or 3 or 4 or sometimes 6 houses on the market in Hagerstown. And little old me is wondering if this black woman governor or mayor of Maryland has anything to do with that.
Well, maybe.
Because Hagerstown was white.
That might be it.
So,
that might be
I mean, beautifully renovated. Like, did these folks just renovate these houses? Like, I'm fixing this, and I'm out. You know, so, I don't know, but.
I can't make it make sense.
I don't think that's a coincidence. So.
Who knows? But we're about 6 minutes into the chat. So hopefully people have had a time to pop in, show up. If you haven't tapped the like button already, feel free to go ahead and do that. And we're going to go ahead and get into the Melanin Spotlight for this week. So I'm going to let Audra go first since her podcast episode just dropped. So
you always let me go first. Don't be blaming it on the podcast.
Okay, so you should be ready. Anyway, have at it.
Y'all see the way she got real slick with the comeback there? You should be ready. Yeah. Yeah, so this is called And When I Die by Bianca Sloan. It's a really cool novel. It's like, it has 2 timelines, the 80s and present day. And I love it because, you know, since I was born in the 70s and was like a tween and teen in the 80s, it was like a throwback to Ferris Bueller and like all kinds of stuff from the 80s. So it was kind of cool to read. But the summary says, when a 16-year-old girl is murdered, fingers are pointed in every direction, but the killer is closer than anyone could have imagined. When pretty and popular Whitney Dean is brutally stabbed to death, there's a slew of suspects: her former bestie, her current BFF, and the hunky new English teacher with the shady past. As the investigation drags on with no arrests, dark secrets come to light, leaving an entire town on edge, terrified of what might come next. Lurking behind the scenes is a killer with a twisted motive and disturbing past. And when the stunning truth is revealed, no one will see the astonishing final act coming. And I sure enough didn't see it coming. And it's like, you know, Mean Girls and popularity, and it's based on, what was cool was I get her newsletter. And it was based, like, she sent an extra that comes with this. It's like a freebie, this newsletter. And it's all about the inspiration. This actually happened. And it was, they did a movie with Tori Spelling called A Friend to Die For, which later became Death of a Cheerleader. I think they renamed it. Which I remember, like, vaguely watching. So it was based on, you know, she based it on a real story, but it was like, there's black girls and white girls, and it's set in Lake Forest, Illinois, which is like this rich area of Illinois. It's a really, really good book. I did not see it coming. DL, I know you read this, right? Did you see the twist coming? But DL's like extremely, like, you know, intelligent. So she's
high level thinking, you guys. Big
high
brain.
level thinking. High level. I just be reading just to read. So, you know, sometimes I can figure things out, but I couldn't figure this one out. I did not see it coming at all. Oh, I got to turn my fan up. Gosh.
Well, Audra cools down. I'm going to tell you guys about my book, which I'm really excited about because they just did a cover reveal for this recently on social media, and the way that this cover, I love everything about it. It is called The Black Girl Survives in this one, and I love that we just acknowledge the trope from the very get-go, from the title. And yeah, it says, be warned, dear reader, the black girls survive in this one. A YA anthology of horror stories centering black girls who battle monsters, both human and supernatural, and who survive to the end. Celebrating a new generation of best-selling and acclaimed black writers, The Black Girl Survives in this one makes space for black girls in horror. 15 chilling and thought-provoking stories place black girls front and center as heroes and survivors who slay monsters, battle spirits, and face down death. Prepare to be terrified and left breathless by the pieces in this anthology. The best-selling and acclaimed authors include Aaron E. Adams, Monica Brashears, Charlotte Nicole Davis, Desiree S. Evans, Sarisha J. Fennell, who are the editors of the anthology, Zakiya Dahlia Harris, hopefully I'm not butchering these names, Daka Herman, Justina Ireland, L.L. McKinney, Brittany Morris, Micah and Maritza Moulite, Eden Royce, and Vincent Torrado. The foreword is by Tananarive Due. So, a lot of names in here.
Yeah, Tananarive Due is huge in the horror. So the fact that she did a forward for that is pretty good. Yeah. And the Molite, however you say that, they're Haitian sisters. I have 2 of their books.
Yeah, and so I read Hide and Seeker by Daka Herman, and I really enjoyed it. I know she writes middle grade horror. Okay, that's the one that I read, and I really enjoyed it. And y'all know that I like Justina Ireland and Dread Nation series. So, but I also read Burn Down, Rise Up by Vincent Torrado, and I really enjoyed that. So that was also like a YA horror / thriller. So I'm excited to see like this anthology because most of the names in here I kind of recognize at least a little bit. So I'm excited to see what they do. Some of them I'm already in my mind like I would probably skip over that one if that one's like your other books, but I digress. Y'all already know that if y'all like either of these books, there are links in the description box below for you to grab them. They point you to the Melanin Library, and that is your online database of books written by Black authors. So if you purchase it from there, then you will be helping to support the Melanin Library to make sure it remains a free resource. So, disclaimer. But, yeah. Yep. That being said, you guys,
is the chat working? Because I asked DL, did you see the killer coming?
I think so.
And when I did,
she said her screen was still stuck at the live in 8 minutes. So
yeah, and that's the last thing I saw. Okay. Yeah. All right.
I don't know what's happening. I don't control the YouTube. I don't.
Yeah. I know.
But the topic for today, you guys, as you can see on screen, is. Never would I ever. Also, Vina came in. Hello, good morning. I hope you're thriving.
Good morning.
Never would I ever. So, I totally blanked and forgot to put the link to the video. So, give me 2 seconds while I do that. And y'all know how I do multitasking. So, bear with me. But yesterday I sent a video to Audra that I saw from Ashley at the Bookish Realm, and there's a slight, I don't want to call it a trend, but a slight I don't know what word to call it. I'm tired. Slight trend going around on BookTube where booktubers are talking about things that they would never do as content creators. And I thought it was a really cool thing because it wasn't anything malicious. It's just like things that they were like, yeah, this isn't me. This is not my ministry, right? And I was thinking about how Audra and I talk all the time about, you know what? I'm gonna stop doing that. I'm not doing this anymore. Right. So I figured this would be fun, just to be like things never, instead of never have I ever, never would I ever. Things that we are absolutely not going to continue doing or do in the future as content creators. So I am going to add the link to Ashley's video down in the description box below, so y'all can feel free to check that out. Don't know where I'm gonna put it, so I'll just put it here. It'll be the original video. Ooh, there we go.
Oh, the chat's starting to work a little bit on the screen.
A little bit. So.
A little bit.
All right. So, Audra, what is
DL says Zakiya Harris wrote The Other Black Girl. Interested to see if her submission is better than that book because, I bought that book and because so many people trashed it, I gave it away to Goodwill because I was just like, I don't have time. People are saying it's horrible.
Not to Goodwill.
Yup, sure did.
I mean, I heard a lot of things about that one too. I'm not gonna lie. So never would I ever read a book that's already got a bunch of terrible hype around it. I,
Yeah, and the thing is, I bought it before all the people started coming in with the reviews because I was like, "Ooh, the other black girl," and I read the summary and I was like, "Ooh, this looks good." I bought it just solely because I read the book blurb, but then everybody was like, "This wasn't it," and I was like, "You know what? Okay, well,
yeah.
she got my dollars, so I'll leave it at that." But I'm not fitting to read this book since so many other people did not like it.
Honestly, I'm just at a point where I'm just kind of like, if the focus of the book is racism of any kind, I'm just not into it. It's not my
Mm,
bag. I don't want it. Love that for get your coins as
right.
a black author, but also that's not me. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to enjoy it. And if I have a choice, that's not going to be the book that I promote on my platforms because there are already so
Right.
many books within that space where it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know. I feel like, and this could be controversial, but I'm tired and absolutely have no filter right now. But I'm just kind of at a point where I'm just like, I don't want, if you can't write about Black joy, and if you're not going to be one of the authors pushing the envelope, and you're just going to kind of give into the machine and what the machine wants, which is trauma and pain and racism and otherism in your books, then I ain't into it. I'm not trying to tear anybody down, but also I am not going to go out of my way to lift you up and to promote your book to other black people because here's the thing. A lot of us as black readers, that's not what we want. So when you say that, oh, I'm writing this book for the black people in my life who I grew up with, for the little me, no, you not, because this is not what you wanted when you was a child, when you was a youngin. This was
Right.
not the story that you wanted of the black girl being othered. The entire 500-page tome that you wrote. You wanted to read a little 200-page book about her having fun and friends. What happened to that?
True. And I'm listening to you, but I'm also DL says she's catching up at 2 times speed. So all I can imagine is that you and I sound like little chipmunks to her right now because we're probably talking like this. And so this is even going to sound funny when she's watching at 2x speed.
I feel, I feel like this is the episode to watch at 2 times speed because I'm not even talking fast this episode.
Can you imagine if you were talking fast like you normally do? Oh my God, at 2 times speed? Woo!
Look, right? Also, Medieval Africa came in. I don't think I've seen you on the channel before, so hello, welcome. Glad you can
Hello.
make
Yes,
it and hang
welcome.
out with us. But
Yes.
yeah,
And you need to come back some more because this is not full on Chelsea because Chelsea's tired because Chelsea only had like an hour of sleep. This is not full on Chelsea
it's
Melanin
not.
Chat.
But I need you to
Not.
know that was the best hour of sleep I've ever had in my life. It was so needed.
I bet it was.
I was
I'm surprised
out.
you woke up. I'm surprised you woke up, homie. Because
You know,
Lord knows I would still be drooling all over myself if I only had an hour of sleep and hit the pillow. No, ma'am, I'd still be drooling.
it's only because I don't do this often. It's literally because I know that I can go back to sleep pretty much anytime I want to because the only responsibility I have is pretty much myself because Ben takes care of everything else. So I'm like, once we get off the chat, I can go
You
back to
better
sleep.
hit the pillow, ma'am.
Yeah. Although I know
Hit the pillow.
I can't today because I literally have other stuff to do. I have to finish this book. I have to finish this book. It's going to be
Right.
done on time. I have pulled 2 all-nighters in a row, y'all. And the way I didn't even do that in college, absolutely not. But for y'all to get quality content, what? She was just like, oh, it's 3 a.m. I guess I should just stay up until the sun comes up. I got like another 3 hours in me finding these long ass lo-fi, chill hop, whatever, just vibing to it. I'm like, oh, that was a 4-hour chill hop. I'm still here. I guess I should find another one. So yeah, but it's gonna be great.
DL, why did you read the book twice if you didn't like it? I don't understand.
Huh?
Yeah, DL says she's going to skip the Hulu series because the other black girl's being turned into a Hulu series. But DL says she's going to skip the Hulu series because she read the book twice and want to be done with it. Why would you read it twice? I don't understand. If you didn't like it the first time around, why torture yourself?
Interesting.
Yeah, and La says the dedication. I love it, but geez, woman, yeah, because Chelsea is just... Chelsea's on another level right now. That's some dedication for yo.
I just want y'all to enjoy the book. Like, y'all know how much I love writing and what I do, and I'm just kind of like, if I said the book was gonna come out, and especially since, because Ash is in the chat, right? I need y'all to know that Ash is part of the reason she's in the back of my brain and why I'm pulling these all nighters, because she was in the first round of beta readers, but then I had to pull the plug on her, and I'm like, I'm sorry, and then she was like, cool, I'm gonna wait, and she been impatiently waiting for this book, and I was just like, I'm gonna get it to you on Wednesday. I'm gonna get it to you on Wednesday. You know what it is right now? Tuesday. And you know what the book isn't? Done. So I'm like, I gotta make it work. I refuse. I absolutely refuse to message Ash and be like, hey, can I push the book back? I refuse. I'm not gonna be it. I'm not gonna do it. So I have been up. That's what's my brain right now. Anyway.
Girl.
That's okay. We all have our motivations. Mine is not having to tell my friends that I ain't got the book ready when I said I would. And I already moved the date back twice. Not gonna do it again.
See. Okay.
Anyway. I can't read the chat, y'all.
Okay. DL says she didn't hate it. It was just okay. She thought people were being dramatic about it. And then she said Reggie Reeves was reading it for Books and Pop Culture, so she decided to reread it with them, and it's still okay, and she's done with it. And Miss Woman of Color Reader said the plot was terrible, but also the writing style was pretty bad for someone who used to be an editor.
You know, being... Ooh, that was... I bet said something real rude. But, what it is, what it is. Being able to critique someone and being able to do the thing that you critique are not the same thing. So you can understand. It's like being a food critic. You can understand what makes a cake good and light and fluffy and sweet, and then not turn around and be able to go in the kitchen and do it yourself.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And
then Ash told you don't rush on her account. She's impatient but not unreasonable. And La says she respects your hustle, but she worries about you sometimes.
It's fine. It's fine. Ben's not gonna let me hurt myself, you guys. So. It's all monitored.
And what is Ben gonna do while you gone?
Probably the same stuff that he's been doing. He has these lessons for his job, where basically if he completes them, he gets a raise. So he's been working on that. Yeah, he's been working through that while I've been working on the book. So he's been in the studio with me, you guys. So it's not just like, oh, Chelsea, like you're abandoning your husband. No, he's usually on the other side of the computer screen doing his stuff.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. What's he gonna do while his Chelsea ain't there?
Probably finish that stuff and then read the book, because he's my PFP and he needs to read it so I can figure out if I'm doing it right. Like, is this any good?
Oh, see, Ben put cryy faces.
Yeah.
See? He's gonna miss you.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss him too, but also, I want to go. Yeah. I want to have fun with my friends. And also, he abandoned me to go to Colorado with his friends last year. So.
Oh, well then, okay.
We even.
And I don't feel sorry for you no more, Ben. Sorry. Get that laugh.
Okay. Also, y'all, my mind is all over the place, so forgive me that we're not really on topic. But how do y'all feel about this conversation? Can we talk about this AI conversation around writing that is happening right now? Because
I love it. Listen, ChatGPT, I have been studying the hell out of it. My husband is a visionary. He can see certain things coming, and he's always right, and people don't listen. He saw this with Linux 20 plus years ago and told people they really needed to learn it. And they were like, what is Linux? This is open source. This is new. It ain't going to last. And now Linux is literally everywhere. Your phone, whether you're Apple or Android, uses Linux. Government is switching to, Linux or some version of Linux. And he saw this he was like, I'm telling you, learn ChatGPT. Because it is going to take over, and it's going to take over quickly. And it is every day, because I get this email from this guy, I can't remember his name, but he gives every Friday, it's like a digest of all the new stuff that's coming out, AI centered. And it's literally mind-blowing the amount of stuff that comes out. And here's the thing. You can shake your fist at the tsunami, or you can get your surfboard and ride the wave. And it's not AI that's going to take over people's jobs. It's the people who are learning how to use AI that are going to take over people's jobs, that are going to take people's jobs. So I've been learning the hell out of it. I've even used it to, and like I just listened to DL's podcast today, and she said that like she had it, like she gave it something and it wrote this like little story or whatever, and it was flat. And it is. I've done it. I asked it for the book that I'm working on. I asked it to write me a character sketch just for the, I was like, this is the person I have in mind for this book, and she's this and she's that. Write me like a background character sketch. And most of it was really flat.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one little thing in there that it wrote, and I was like, ooh. And so I pulled that one sentence out and built this whole character. So it, to me, I just see it as it's a great brainstorming tool. I have taken summaries that I wrote for my episodes, because it takes me forever to write like the little blurbs that I write for Twitter and all that on release day. Mm-hmm. And I took my blurb that I wrote and I put it in and I said, give me a title for this blurb. And I kept regenerating it because the first ones were kind of crappy. And then it said, is this better or worse? It's like it can catch on to when you're not satisfied. And it says, is this better or worse? And then you say better or worse or whatever. And it finally gave me a title that I really liked. And then I took that title and then just tweaked it a little more. So I see it as a brainstorming thing. I see it as it's a great way. If you have writer's block, it will give you some ideas, and they may not be the best ideas, but they're jumping off ideas that'll give you better ideas. And, you know, people are starting to use it. Companies are using it. I mean, even like Midjourney, I've made graphics in Midjourney to go with some of my episodes. And I mean, I don't think it's being scared of it, being angry about it is not going to stop it from happening. So I'm going to learn the hell out of it. It's a new skill, and it may even, you know, help me generate, you know, another source of income at some point. So, you know, that's my take on it.
My take is the complete opposite. I ain't even gonna front. I'm one of those people where I'm just kind of like, I'll say this. I'm not so like, oh, I don't see the value in it, because that's not how I feel about it. My issue with it is the fact that there are so many people using it to quote unquote create art, and it's just kind of like when they talk about how they're basically having it learn or whatever, it's just like it's not creating anything. It's just taking elements from other people. And then I feel like you get into this conversation where it's like you have to talk about, okay, well, how much of it is borrowing and how much of it is just straight up stealing, and how much of it is just repurposing somebody else's ideas, because the reality of it is, like, if it's just scraping the internet for pretty much everything to give you these ideas and such, it's like, if is that, my question becomes, because I don't know everything, right? But my question becomes, how much of that is quote unquote an original idea versus just showing you someone else's idea? Because obviously we don't know anything. We haven't read every book. We don't know. And my thing becomes, you know, creating a book is a skill. And it's just, I feel like there are so many people in the conversation on Twitter, at the very least, talking about how, oh, I have the most bare minimum idea, and so now I'm going to have the chat write me a book, and therefore I will be a novelist, therefore I will be an author. And from my perspective, I'm just kind of like, nope, that's a skill, baby doll. Like, you can't just throw it into the chat and be like, okay, yes, I am now an author. That's point number one, where I'm just kind of like, I see a lot of people just basically, one, trying to not even abuse it, because I don't think that's the word, but trying to devalue something that it takes actual time. And it's always, at least what I'm seeing right now, within the sectors of art, whether it's books, music, visual art, etc. So yes, when people are using it to like brainstorm or whatever, that's one thing. But I also think it's a completely other thing to use it to avoid paying an actual artist. And you're like, ooh, I want this thing in this artist style. But instead of actually paying the artist, you're just like, oh, I'm going to get it from ChatGPT, which is looking at their art, taking the elements that they've studied and practiced and perfected into something that you actually visually like, to turn it into something that you can just then take for free. That's where I'm kind of like, I feel like there's a level of, this could be this could turn very bad very quickly, especially within the realm of like self-publishing and indie authors, because there's already this idea and this stigma that self-published books are not as good as traditionally published books. And I feel like personally we just got to a point in the conversation where that mindset was beginning to shift, where people are like, well, no, these books are just as good and of equal quality. And if there's like a mass influx of people being like, oh, I wrote 1,000 books this year with the chat, and like you said, they're all flat, it's not actual skill, then we're going to end up hurting the market that is going to benefit, quote unquote, the most from it, under the guise of, oh, well, I just use it to brainstorm. And then I kind of feel like you get into the discussion of like, okay, well, at what point is it more than just brainstorming? At what point is it the chat has done more of the story than you have? And then how do you differentiate between someone who used it literally just to outline versus someone who used it for like 80% of their book? I feel like the lines start to get really muddled, and the skill of creating something is going to be devalued even more than it already is, because it's just like, oh, but the chat can do that.
And Ash says, other folks' work is being stolen to make something new. Can it really be AI when it can't learn not to use the unsavory things on the internet that it has used to learn? Well, the thing is, there are a lot of safeguards in place with it. If you try to type in something, like I've tried to type in things like when I was like in Midjourney, and I would try to create graphics for my Staying on Code podcast, like graphics, and the way I would type something, it would say this is perceived as violating the guidelines of Midjourney. And even with ChatGPT, like a racist person is not going to be able to go in there and say, write me a hate speech for blah blah blah. And you don't even have to be that specific with it. If you write something that it's going to pick up on those things, it's not going to do it for you. It's going to say, sorry, this goes against the ethics and all of that. So there are safeguards in place, and they are hiring people who are, and there's a black guy who's actually, I believe, in charge of making sure that it isn't used for nefarious purposes. So I mean, there's good and bad with everything. Now, when I use Midjourney, I don't tell it to make me a picture in the style of this artist. I say, make me an image of a futuristic city with mountainous landscape and this, that. Like, I created this whole city for this book I'm writing, and it gave me this really cool like image. And I see your point, but I also see it as, for people who can't afford to pay artists when they're starting out, it's a great tool.
And I guess my thing just becomes like, even if you don't put it like, oh, I want it in the style of, let's say, Jenny J or whatever, right? That doesn't mean that it's not still taking Jenny J's style and artwork to show it to you for what you're creating, And it's just like, if that artist isn't being created for literally creating the style that this AI is using and not being compensated. And I get what you're saying, because I think there's always going to be a side of the conversation where it's like, but what about the people who can't afford it? That's a very real and valid conversation point that I think that the AI is going to solve. But I also think on the other side of that is, okay, but what about the artist who is now not getting a client because the chat is doing it for free, because
That's true.
It's kind of like with covers and everything else that you and I have talked about in the past, like when you were talking about doing something professionally, there's a certain level of like financing it that you should be willing to do in order to pay other professionals to do your work. And I don't want to say be on the up and up, but like to literally, like, as an artist, if you're not willing to pay another artist for their work, what is that saying about your own stuff? At least that's how I view it. Like, if you're not willing to add money to the pot, why should you be able to take from it, essentially? But that's just...
And Ben just said, like any tool, the problem is the people using the tool, not the tool itself.
Yes,
exactly. That's exactly it.
And
And like I said, technology, we live in a technological age, and this kind of stuff, you can get mad at it, or you can learn it and try and harness it to your benefit, or at the very least add it as a skill in your, a tool in your skill set. Because my husband said, and he's never been wrong, that it's not going to be a matter of who went to what college, because with the internet, anybody can learn anything. It's going to be a digital divide, and there's going to be people that have the programming skills, the you know the other technical skills, and there's going to be people that don't. And the chasm is the divide is just going to grow wider and wider and wider and wider. So you have to have some kind of you have to have some kind of programming skills and other technical skills in order to survive the future of the world.
And I don't disagree with you. I guess I'm also, but my brain is also like, but there have, in order for the world to survive, there have always been people, there's always been like, not a separation of skill, but like an understanding that some people are good at things. And there are some people who are good at the technical side of things, at the digital side of things. But there have always been artists in every age of culture. So it's just kind of like the idea that the technology is meant to replace the art is what I'm just kind of like. But the thing is, the chat or whatever, the chat GPT can only learn from what other people have already created. So it's not creating something that has never been done before. That's what you still need people for. And I'm just curious if, because there's already the stigma of like the starving artist, right? And everyone who's ever tried to write a book knows how difficult it is to try to sell that book and get people to read it, especially to make enough money to like survive off of it. So while I agree with you, it's definitely a skill. Like you said, it's a tsunami. It's coming whether you like it or not. But it's also one of those things where it's like, as you're kind of looking at it and experiencing it, I guess I just kind of wonder where it's going to go, because there's also the aspect of AI where it's just like companies have already started using it to diversify their models and their actresses. And it's just kind of like, is this, again, it's already like minorities are already not getting roles, or already not being paid properly, or already not getting the support they need when they do get these jobs. And it's just like, if they can find a way to remove that aspect of it altogether, how much more, I don't want to say fake diversity, but how much fake diversity are we going to get? And already with books, we've already experienced, authors, I'll say, I'm saying what I mean. We've already experienced, white authors presenting themselves as, black authors online in order to sell a book, or hiding their face. So I'm also wondering, like with the chat, how many more stories are we going to get where it's just like, this is quote unquote fake diversity. This is not actually written by a black author. They just used the chat to make it seem that way, or they created a profile to make it seem like that they are an appropriate voice for this book. And then it becomes that much harder to discern between what you're actually supporting. Again, it's the people behind it. I don't think the tool itself is the problem. Just like the hammer is not the problem, it's only an issue if the person with the hammer is beating you in the head with it,
Right.
So,
and yes, Ben, I have my fan going, and I cannot turn it off because I'm hot. Since someone have a fan going.
Oh yeah, it's not me.
But,
I don't have it today.
Yeah, but it says DL said, knowing how to use it and using it ethically and where the lines are is a benefit, but we don't have to implement it if it goes against process. True. And this is a valid point, because really to get the system to bring you something usable, you have to know how to feed it. You'll spend 6 hours feeding it prompts to get one paragraph. And see, that's what I'm talking about. It's not like you could just put something in. It's a skill. It's a talent. It's something that I'm learning on my own to help me with like podcast ideas, with with like, I'll ask it, what kind of graphic should I make for this episode? Because I make graphics for each YouTube episode. So I ask it, what kind of graphic should I make for an episode that's with a author who's a thriller suspense writer, and the book is about this? And then it'll give me ideas. And then as it gives me ideas, I realize something that I left out, and then I have to tweak and tweak and tweak. And then it'll give me an idea. And then a lot of times I'll just go into Canva, and then I'll look for elements like photos that deal with what I asked it to create. So it's all a matter of how you use it. But it's not like you could just say, write me a book. It's not gonna, you have to know, it's almost like a programming language in itself, because it makes you think about all the details that you need to put in. Even like with Midjourney, you have to think about all the details that have to go into it. So it's a skill in and of itself. You know, and you know, I see the good and the bad of it. When my husband first told me about it, I was like, oh, I can see this getting really sticky really quickly, and it has. But at the same time, I have to learn it. So, you know, because I'm a housewife. I mean, I have 3 college degrees, which are basically useless because higher education is falling by the wayside by leaps and bounds because people just cannot afford to go to college anymore, and they're using the internet to gain skills and get jobs. Employers have stopped looking for, you know, people with college degrees and instead are looking for skills. So I'm a housewife. So I'm looking at it from the aspect of the technology is advancing. They're looking for a different set of skills. And I need to learn those skills because I love my husband and he takes excellent care of me. But God forbid, if something should ever happen to him, yeah, we have a little life insurance. But it's not a whole lot because he's diabetic. So they just won't give diabetics beyond a certain amount. So I'm learning it because I need a skill. Because the master's degree that I have in higher education is useless. I could not get a job in higher education that would pay me anything that would remotely cover our mortgage and stuff like that. And it's not like we have a huge mortgage. We live in a little teeny Cape Cod, a 1950 Cape Cod. So I'm looking at it as it's a skill that I'm going to learn because I may be able to use it in the future to take care of myself. So like you said, there's lots of ups and downs to it.
Yeah, there are definitely 2 sides to it. I think my stance on it in general, though, is just that I don't really believe in using it to take the place of art, and that's just kind of the way I see it going. Because I'm just like, somebody tweeted, they were like, so can they make a robot that will pull the plastic from the ocean instead of like trying to get it to be a screenwriter? And I'm just kind of like, hey, let's talk about it though.
True.
Also, like
very
I said,
true.
It's not something that I've been learning because the way I've been working on this book, I ain't got time. But it is it is in the back of my head, like, okay, at some point I'll play with it and see, because I didn't get into Midjourney because I know exactly, I get what you're talking about, like it's a skill, because even with Midjourney, like you have to know how to put in the prompts. So the people who get those beautiful images, like I know for a fact that took time because it doesn't work the way that you want it to from the very beginning, especially if you were getting a Black character. So it's just kind of like I absolutely understand what you're saying and where you're coming from. I think it's interesting, and I think it's something to watch. You know, I think it's something to consider and to be mindful of going forward. And I think the landscape of what publishing is going to be and what specifically any type of written work is going to look like in the future, I think it's going to be very different from whatever it is that we have come to know in this current era, because there are definitely going to be people, there have already been people who are like, you know, they're planning to write thousands of books with the chat and just throw it up there, because there are a lot of people even before chat who believed in, oh, I'm gonna just put up a bunch of books and they're barely going to be anything, and they're just going to be a backlog. That way I can be like, I've got 30 or 45 books on Amazon and they're all in super obscure categories, so they all reach like that #1 bestseller banner. But it's like, yes, you're the #1 bestseller in mayonnaise eating monster smut, specifically on rye bread sandwiches. Like, okay, yeah. There are like 5 books in that category, homie. Congratulations.
Mayonnaise eating monster smut.
Look, man, they got a category for everything.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm tired.
Right, DL said that was very specific, Chelsea. It was very specific. I'm just saying.
I literally picked the most random things that I could think of and threw it together.
And this is what her tired brain picks, y'all.
I was literally thinking that I was hungry, and I was like, I could go get a sandwich, and I was like, oh, wait, we need more mayo. And then that's where the sandwich came from. But I was also know that monster smut is a very large category on Amazon. But when you narrow it down like that.
DL said, I'm not even going to look, because then Amazon will only show me mayo-eating monster smut. And Ash said, stop coming for the monster smut.
I'm not coming for it. I'm just saying that there is a difference between getting a #1 bestseller in something like fantasy, which is a very broad genre with lots of books in it, and mayonnaise eating monster smut. I don't know. Those are just two very different categories, especially if your book only has like 20 pages, which some of these authors really believe in, like throwing up. Y'all can't tell me that y'all haven't seen those authors who are like, I have a course and I can tell you how I make $40,000 a month or whatever. It's like, yeah, because you got you got 40 people paying you $1,000 to take this stupid course to put 20-page books up on the Amazon.
Right.
It's not from books, homie. It's not from books.
It's not. Absolutely not. Nope. And Ben said, because Ben was clowning me, he was like, can you move your fan away from the mic? I am in my closet. I told him no, because I have a shoe rack right here. I have shoes and everything. And even if I move the shoes, I could only go up one. And it's still going to be near the mic because the mic is right here. So Ben said if he wins the lottery, he's going to get me out the closet.
I can agree to that. I can agree that he can agree to that.
I'm just saying. You know, I tried to get myself out of the closet. I did the Indiegogo, which got me the first part. I got the backyard all cleared and the space is there waiting. I just have to get the second part done.
It's just waiting for y'all to move, because if you set up a studio in the back now and then y'all move, it's going to be like, what did I do that for? So it's just the timing. It's going to come through when the timing is right.
We ain't moving no time soon. We have a nice 2% interest rate that we locked in. That's 15-year. And right now, interest rates are at 7.5%, which means if we got the same kind of house, the same kind of mortgage payment, it would be double because of the interest rate. So Ed was like, we're not moving unless these interest rates go down. And trust me, we both want to. Because this neighborhood is, and my neighborhood is okay, but the people next door to me are from El Salvador, and it really shows. Like, we have a friend who's from El Salvador who's done a lot of work on our house, and he's like, oh my God, they are such an embarrassment. Like, it's ridiculous. I'm ready to go. Because I'm about to catch a charge because the little 7-year-old boy is always talking greasy to me, calling me old lady and saying I got a big butt and wrote nigger on the sidewalk in front of his house. Like, I'm about to catch charge.
Do you remember we are on the public chat on YouTube?
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
Careful with that.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know if we're gonna go. So I'm gonna have it be a shed that I'm going to like make into like a little studio. But if we sell, it just adds value to the house, because you could just say, if you're a podcaster, there's already a little studio in the backyard. So I was always thinking of it in that terms, that, it's like, look.
Well, me and Ben decided that we need to move last night because I called him in the middle of the night to come kill a spider, and he did so. But then when he killed that spider, another spider ran away, and there were 2 spiders. So now we have to leave because now they're ganging up on us.
Now you gotta burn it down.
Look, man, this is why I can't be left here by myself.
There was a meme I saw yesterday where this house was like completely destroyed, and like the roof was on the ground, and it was like obliterated, and on the side of the house it said, I got the spider.
Yep. You got the spider though. So.
Oh man. Yeah.
But yeah. So I just want to come out the country. The way I want to be in a concrete box in the sky. That's what I want. That's what I'm aspiring to. I just want to be.
I want to go to the country. I want the farm.
Yeah, I want to be as far away from like greenery as possible. I just want like clouds. Okay, that's fine. Clouds and fresh air are fine. But
I need my green. I'm a farmer. I got my tomato plants going, and my basil and my snap peas going in the backyard. And my peppers.
I would be fine with just air shipping it to me. Like, just send me my groceries.
I'll be your source. I'll be your farmer.
Yeah.
I'll grow it, send it to you.
Appreciate it. That's all I need.
Oh, DL said, what are the things on the never would I ever list?
As far as, I feel like we have to pick a category at this point. Never would I ever, for me, being honest, I was like, never would I ever have another Black author on the podcast who does not actually write about Black characters, specifically Black characters who do Black things. Not like they got brown skin, but like an actual Black person. I ain't doing that no more. I'm not promoting books that are heavy racism, trauma, whatever. Not doing that. Books that are over, like, if everybody says it's bad, I'm gonna believe it. I'm not bringing that on the platform either. So that's not what I'm doing. And anybody who can't hold a conversation, I ain't doing that stuff no more either, because the way that gets up under my skin. If you ask yourself to be on the podcast and I'm like, cool, come on, and then you looking at me like, no. Yes, I did have fun writing the book. I found it difficult because writing is hard. Why are you here?
Yeah,
this is a conversation.
Go use ChatGPT to learn how to answer some questions.
And I'm like, it's not me. It's not me. I know how to hold a conversation. It's some of these authors, and I'm like, y'all need to get out of y'all house, or get in front of a mirror and talk to yourself, because the way. And honestly, you know what? Never would I ever have somebody else on a podcast who don't read the long email, because I send that information for a reason. Okay?
Girl, if I do that, I ain't gonna have nobody on my podcast. Like, nobody.
And that's why I ain't got nobody on my podcast. That right there is why I ain't got regular guests on the show.
Listen, my never would I ever is I will no longer accommodate authors who are like, well, I need this, and I want to do this, and I want to do it this way. And I would always say, well, this is how I do it, but I would try to accommodate them a little bit. But you give folks a rope, they want to be a cowboy, so I'm not doing that no more. This is my show. You follow my format. I'm not going through any extra hoops. If you want to be on the show, you need to work it out so that you could be on the show on the days that I record. And no, I have never sent any authors questions beforehand, even though a lot of them have asked, because I'm like, no, because then you're going to over-research. You're not going to really be answering me. You're going to give me a storybook answer for every answer, and my podcast is going to go from an hour to like 3 hours. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. And never will I ever have a certain genre of book on this podcast anymore. And I'm not saying what it is, because I've had authors in this genre. But I will say this: if I have had authors come to me in my DMs who are
we're still in the public,
formerly incarcerated, and have written books while incarcerated, and it shows. And I'm glad that you got out. I'm glad that you used your time productively while you were in there, but you need to take some classes on some writing, and because their books are like, you can get the sample on Amazon, and I get the sample, and it's just like, I can't with this.
Yeah, never would I ever have an author on the podcast or on the platform. I say podcast, but on the platform in general, if I didn't like their book, because I've done that before in the past too. Never doing that again.
And never will I ever have an author on just because they're an indie author. Now, I will say this: when I first started the podcast, the first year, I just looked for anybody who was an indie author. And some of the folks that I had on, I really should not have had on. But it was new. It was a new show. I was just looking for people, and we learn and we grow. And as I learn and I grow, my podcast learns and grows.
I love how, as like Black podcasters who are like, I want to interview Black authors, we both start, pretty much everybody I know who does that, they're like, I want to talk to people. I want to give them a platform. And you start giving people a platform, and you're like, you don't need a platform. I still have to curate this.
Yeah.
It becomes very quickly, you start to realize where it's just like, ooh, this ain't the move. This ain't the idea that I think it's gonna be.
Nope. Because that first year, I'm gonna tell you, is about 15 authors that I enjoyed having on. DL was one of them. DL was one of my first guests, and if finding DL was my prize for starting and digging and looking for indie authors, I will take that because I cannot imagine my life without DL. Her books are amazing. She's amazing. I learn a lot from her. I learn a lot from her podcast. So if I have to take the rest of that L and got DL in the process, I'm good. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying it was a whole bunch of authors that first year. And when I tell y'all, one author I remember in particular, the episode was 3 hours, and I had to go in and edit out down to an hour. And so much of his talk was rambling that I had to just edit out. It took me like 6 hours to edit that episode.
Never would I ever edit a 3-hour podcast audio when it's supposed to be an hour long, okay? Because the way I will hit somebody quick with I'm so sorry, your audio got corrupted. I won't be able to post this. But thank you for coming on. No, we cannot reschedule to record. No. Let me tell you something. If you ever get I'm so sorry the audio file got corrupted and I'm not asking you to reschedule, it did not get corrupted. Okay? It's just I can't post it. I can't do anything with it. And never would I ever post bad audio quality and a boring conversation at the same time. No. If it's a good conversation, it's just like, look, the quality is what it is because you don't have a mic or you don't have it is. Sometimes it is what it is. I'm not going to discriminate. But if you got crappy audio and you boring, I'm not listening to this again. I'm not doing this again. I'm not going to ask Ben to listen to it. I'm not going to ask anybody to listen to it. It's nah. And never would I ever have someone on the platform who doesn't take the craft seriously. Because the way that writing is a craft. It's a skill. It's something that you practice.
Yeah, like don't have your fire and smoke alarm chirping in the background every 2 damn minutes. Take the battery out if you ain't gonna change it.
It's not hard, y'all. It's not. But
or go in another room where you ain't gonna hear that. Because I have had several episodes of that and it drove me crazy.
I'm so sorry that your audio got corrupted.
I did do that with an author once because there were sirens. There was the thing was chirping. At one point, somebody was in the background cussing somebody else out, and that was like in the first year. And I was like, your audio got corrupted. I'm so sorry. I won't be able to use it. So
yeah. Also, Portia came in. Hello, Portia Simmons. I hope you were doing well. And yeah, it's just the longer you work with other people, the more qualifiers you come up with for working with other people. It is. And honestly, y'all, that is why I do the Melanin Chat with Audra, because it is not easy finding a co-host, and it's not easy finding someone that you can vibe with and have a conversation with and do something with regularly of a certain quality. And it's just like, this is why I vibe with Audra, because the way I am not built to endure. Okay, I am a soft girly. Okay, I can't. I'm not, because the first time you're like, okay, I can't do this. I'm like, okay, cool, life. But when some people really get into that comfort zone and it's always something, like, bruh, you got an emergency every week. What is happening in your life? Are you okay? Nah, honey. Respect my time. That's all I gotta say.
Yep.
But yeah,
absolutely.
There's one.
And never will I ever have a guest on my show who was a no-show the first time around. Oh, yeah. I had several episodes where they were a no-show, didn't call, didn't email, nothing. I waited for them for 20 minutes, and they did not show up. And one of them I gave an opportunity to show back up, and they didn't show up a second time. So you miss my show, and you don't email me or call me, or unless it's an extreme emergency, if you email me 10 minutes before the show or a few hours before the show and say you can't do it, and then I have no show for that week, unless it was a true emergency, you ain't coming back on the show.
Yep.
And that's also why, because when if you've been following the podcast from day one, if you go back and look, I used to say, coming up this week, and I would do a graphic telling who was going to be on the show. I stopped doing that for that very reason.
Oh, that's the difference between me and Audra, y'all. And this is why I keep telling y'all that I'm not as nice as a lot of people, because whenever I'm talking to anybody else, I was like, I would never, I'm not going to commit to that. Absolutely not. Unless it's already recorded and scheduled. I ain't telling you what's coming next. No, this
Yeah, I
is
don't do
Russian
it anymore.
roulette. Listen to the next episode and see who it's about. And
Yep, that's what I did.
because, nah.
That's what I changed it to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No call, no show. You're fired. Literally that.
Yep.
Literally that. Because
Yep.
here's the thing, y'all. Time is valuable. Time is valuable, and when you're trying to organize something and you're trying to put together a quality product, for whatever reason, when you do something and do it well, other people perceive it as being something that is easy to do and therefore do not put the same amount of respect on it. So I literally got to a point where on the podcast, I have to, when I send out my email, I literally say, hi, this is going to be a fun conversation, but this is also a business. So please treat it as such and respect my time. Show up on time, be prepared, because I will send you like 3 to 5 questions. And they're the 3 to 5 questions that I ask every single person who comes on the podcast, because you know what? Some people come on and they don't listen. They don't listen to the podcast. They don't know what I'm going to ask. They're always shocked when I'm like, oh, so if you could give your younger self advice, what would it be? I ask literally every single person who has ever come on my platform that question. And some people are still surprised by it. And so I had to start telling people like, hey, you're going to get a chance to market yourself. You should probably practice that, because it's 2 minutes. If it's over 2 minutes, it's going to get cut down. You get one link. I suggest you make a link tree, because don't send me 15 links and expect me to put it in this podcast episode, because ain't nobody finna click it. Okay? Pick your one link and send it to me. Practice your intro and your outro. So you got your 2 minutes. You got 120 seconds, bruh. You better make this count. Okay? And be ready to answer the questions that I have for you. Like, there are going to be a couple of other questions, but do not come on here acting brand new like you ain't never wrote a book before. If you didn't write the book, I don't know why you're here. Okay? We need to have a conversation, a discussion. And also, I'm not like Audra. I'm not giving you an hour. You got 30 to 45 minutes tops. Get in, get out. Okay? Get to the point. We are not rambling. Do not give me a 15-minute answer on one question. It's not necessary.
Chelsea.
I'm so serious. I'm so serious. There's a reason why I have an email called the long email. Okay, I'm gonna tell you how long the episode is, what your topic is, when we're supposed to meet, how we're supposed to meet, what you need to practice. I'm gonna give you a template. So if you just want to plug and play with your stuff, that's fine. And I'm gonna tell you to give me one link, and I'm gonna recommend where you go get a mic and some headphones. Because do not come onto this podcast with your phone up to your face. Okay? No.
Girl.
Anyway, that was a rant. But we are now at 11 o'clock. We've been on here for an hour, so y'all know what time it is. We about to shift this over to the Melanin Chat, after chat, Melanin Chat. So that means if you want to join the grown folks conversation, where we are not necessarily keeping it family friendly, PG-13, although Audra clearly forgot this episode, and
I'm sorry. It was a word. I'm sorry.
She said it with a hard ER too. I'm dead.
Well, that's the way he wrote it on the sidewalk.
Anyway, after chat, $5 gets you in. Just go to patreon.com/written and melanin to join. If you join us, you get access to the replay of the after chat, and you also are supporting the Melanin Library to make sure it remains a free resource. We have over 3,000 books on the library, and if you like Black people, I suggest that you sign up. If you don't, I mean, are you anti-Black? Is that what's happening here? I don't know. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. Go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching this in the future, go ahead and turn on the live replay for the chat so you don't miss anything that happened. And leave a comment to let us know that you watched it. Me or Audra, probably me, will respond to you, because that's what we do around these parts. That being said, I think that's everything. Click the links down in the description box below if you are interested in When We Die by Bianca Sloan, or The Black Girl Survives in this one, the anthology. Both of those are linked in the description box below, as well as my books. We Are the Origin and We Are Dying Gods, which at this current moment in time, you can pre-order the second book, or you can pre-order the book box, which is coming up, which will have candles, bookmarks, pre-order artwork, signed copy of the book, a map, all that good jazz. So get into it, enjoy it. I think that's it. So until next time, you guys, I hope your days are lovely and your books are interesting.